Welcome everyone back for another episode 19 of Bullish Project. Today, I have another guest on the podcast. His name is Ethan, one of my best friends. How you doing today, Ethan? What's up, man?
Darn good, Brett. How we doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. We were actually talking a little bit before the episode. In fact, the guest on last week's episode was a mutual friend of ours. So if you haven't seen that episode, check it out. It was with our friend Jacob. He's been getting me in the gym a lot more than I'm used to for sure. But go check that out. It's one of our mutual friends. And then of course I got to get the homie Ethan on the podcast as well. So it's like full circle. It's like
Hey,
full circle. Dude, like I said before we were filming here, I'm super excited to get you on this episode because there's a lot of things I just want to pick your brain about. A lot of things that I want to talk about and like your story and stuff. I respect it a lot as we were talking about earlier. So, real quick, just tell everyone what you do and just a quick little introduction.
well, as far as what I do, right now, as far as money, I'm just really coaching kids classes up at my gym right now. Not coaching, but mostly just assisting the coaches and whatnot. That's a decent source of income while the actual fighting thing gets off its feet a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty much all I'm really doing right now.
Nice. Yeah, and I actually didn't
hmm
know that. So you actually that's your main source of income, like 40 hours a week. You just teach classes.
No, no, no. I'm just I got like other little sources of income, but like I'd say the coaching kids classes right now is the main source for sure.
Awesome, dude. That's dope. Yeah, and this podcast for me is like a hobby more so right now. It's not even a source of income. I still got my main 40 hours a week. But yeah,
That,
that's interesting
that,
to hear.
that's
Like,
that's commitment right there, though. You gotta like what you do before you can start making money for it, in my opinion.
yeah. Oh, hobbies for sure, man, because if you're starting it with the intent of trying to make money, you're not going to get anywhere because you got to respect the daily grind and how that works first before you can make it because eventually money, if even if you do make it to a place where you get a ton of money, eventually that motivation runs out because you're going to wake up and you're like,
Burnout,
I can make
burnout's a
money
real thing.
anywhere. I can make money
Yeah.
anywhere. But you can't be happy everywhere. So, and that's
Mhm.
actually a decent point too. Like you can definitely go anywhere to make money. Like there's so many jobs right now, and I know the market's probably going to close up eventually, but there are jobs everywhere, dude. Any truck, like semi. I saw Rumkey, like they had like a little now hiring sign on their trucks. Like everywhere's got hiring signs. So, but if you can actually love what you do, that's a totally different mental game. Because then you can wake up and actually want to go to work and want to grind. You know?
Exactly, man. And like, I'm pretty sure you knew about this. I've been gone from Kroger for about a year now, but I was there for 6 years, and then what eventually like just got me out of there was I kind of just woke up one. I work third shift too. I work third shift too, so I just woke up one day, and I had missed a fucking training session at my gym, and I'm just like, I can't keep doing this shit, man. So
Yeah.
I eventually just I looked at my bank account at the time. It was doing pretty good. Uh, and I just kind of concocted a plan. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna get out of here soon. Focus like as much as I can on the fighting thing because by the end of my run at Kroger, I'm just like, all right, 23, 24 years old. I don't want to do this as a career. I got to start making moves toward what I really want to do.
Dude, yeah, for sure. That's a good point. I'm in the same boat right now, and I'm actually probably, in terms of progress, I'm maybe a little bit behind you because I'm doing my own few side hustles here, and I talked about it on. Um, this will be well by the time I post this episode, this will be 2 weeks ago. But one of my best friends, I did an episode with him as well, doing um, where we were talking about like mental struggles and triggers and stuff. But we also talked about starting a business. And this podcast mainly comes from a place of like what I'm doing personally, and I think that's what's going to be my own unique trait to it. I'm going through that process of starting a business right now, so and it could probably help somebody who's watching or listening. So that's great, dude. That's so good to hear because I'm in that. transitory phase right now where I still need my job, I still need my 40 hours, but eventually it's gonna transition. I'm glad you made that jump, dude, because a lot of people don't ever do that. And to me, from what it sounds like that's your dream too. Like we were just briefly talking about it, but the MMA fighting stuff. Like as long as I've known you, which has been since elementary school, by the way, which is I mean that's been a long time ago, but we've always connected a little bit back then. And then as much as I knew about you back then, you've always been into like fighting in general. I know you got me into wrestling at the time, which was WWE, and a lot of that stuff just like when I think of you, I associate you with like fighting and stuff like that. So it's nice to see that you're actually making it work and chasing your dreams, bro.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And it's good to hear that you got your own shit going on too, man. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, I appreciate that because you could tell a story a little bit here, but you actually just recently had a fight in Louisville, and I felt so bad. I saw the date, and what happened was I couldn't get off work. What happens is a lot of my schedules are about a month out, sometimes longer, and um, with short notice, sometimes those days are already taken in terms of days off with like other coworkers.
You're not the only one that happens to. I got a
But
couple that have it
I've
the
been
same way.
literally every time because you had one in Bowling Green before that, and I was like, dude, I just got to make it out to one of this man's fights, like just to see it, and not only that, but support you, like since you are like in a spot where you're about to make your dreams happen, and you're like so close to it, and I see that in you because what we just talked about, you've always had that drive to be an MMA fighter or just a fighter in general, so. But tell me a little bit about that. So you recently had a fight, and you actually came back with a W, which is nice to see. So
That's my fourth win in a row now. It was against Wilder Lehans, who was number 9 ranked amateur in Kentucky, and I was number 15 at the time. They told me at the fighter interviews the day before the fight that this fight had like potential title implications about it, which I already figured it did, but just having that kind of like absolute there, that definite like stipulation there, I'm just like, all right, I got to show out for this one. And also too, like one of my big things going into this fight was I hadn't gotten a finish yet. All my fight had gone to decisions, so I'm glad that I was able to come out with the TKO win against, I'd say, obviously from a ranking standpoint, my toughest opponent at the time. So yeah, hopefully looking at a title fight next, man.
dude, also, and that's through the B2 fighting series. So that's who you started with, and that's who you're gonna be with until you go professional, which will be nice to see. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like they have their own championship and their own system going through their series and stuff. So that's nice to hear, man, because it sounds like you've proven yourself 4 wins in a row. Like that's pretty incredible to hear. Not only is it nice to hear that you're winning, but all your hard work is paying off. From what I've seen you and Jacob do in the gym, and all of your just super basic routines, and then you're adding a little flair on top of it to get yourself prepared. It's just like the classic journey of hard work and then chasing your dreams and getting to the mountain, climbing over it. That's so good to see, man. That's nice.
I'm gonna tell you this. You knew me back in elementary school. I'm not a natural athlete or anything like that. So you know
Ray,
that
real quick,
everything
your audio is a little muffled. Sorry. Talk again. Still muffled a little bit. I don't know if is your hand on the microphone or something.
it might be. I was
There it is.
sounding
Yep. All right. Little technical
might have
difficulties. It happens.
my bad.
All right. Go again.
My bad.
You're good.
But good.
Yep. All good.
All right. So like you knew me back in elementary school. I'm not like the most like naturally gifted like athlete or anything like that. So you know that everything that you're seeing in these fights right now is purely just hard work and dedication to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. No, 100%. And we've worked out a few times together. And you were going through because I'm big into boxing, like in terms of working out. It's not my super go-to workout, but I do like to do it a lot. And you ran me through some of those workouts. I wouldn't naturally do it myself. In fact, I haven't done a boxing workout in a while, but you ran me through some of those motions. and just like your knowledge and stuff is incredible. And the fact that you said you're coaching kids is like, it doesn't shock me with the path that you're taking. So yeah, that's dope. So in terms of the fighting, you said the potential championship or title fight here soon. Do you have like a sneak peek of when we can expect a next fight out of you?
If everything goes well, we're looking to probably get back in there in October. If everything goes
October.
well. Yep.
Nice. You let me know.
Yeah,
I'll
it'll
be there.
probably be, definitely. I got you. It'll probably be another Kentucky card. We're kind of staples of the Kentucky MMA scene right now, so definitely will keep you updated.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's local to me, so I'll do my best to be there. Because when we're talking about really anything, chasing your dreams in general, we're talking about the daily grind, and there's gonna be struggles like physical, mental
Yeah.
struggles, things like that. In your case, you actually have type 1 diabetes, and you're out here looking probably healthier than 99% of Americans. Like, absolutely, you're an absolute unit, bro. And I just have a lot of respect for you. So, and the fact that you're doing it with diabetes just shows that anybody can do anything, no matter what your struggle is or what your disadvantages are. I actually had this conversation on with a friend of mine a few weeks ago, and we were talking about basically that like life is fair. And when I said that, I meant like life is fair in terms of input and output. If you're putting into it, you're going to get what you get out of it. It doesn't matter where you start at in terms of the race. You know, some people start a little bit ahead of you, some people start a little bit behind you, but you can always win the race if you put in a lot enough work. And I preach that, and like you're just a prime example of that. Like I respect that.
Yeah, that's actually like a good quote because, like, people will say that life isn't fair and you're dealt a shitty hand, but it's up to you to kind of play that shitty hand, like, however you play it. You can choose to wallow in whatever shitty hand, like, situations that deals you, or you can choose to kind of make something better out of that shitty hand.
Yeah, for sure. I
You're a
preach
poker
that
player
all the
too, so I'm
time.
sure you get that.
Yeah, of course. I preach that all the time, and I preach it mainly on this podcast too. But, um, what I do on this podcast doesn't stop on the podcast. I talk about this with my friends in general. I talk about it just with my coworkers. I'm a super big, oh, well, maybe it's this or super big benefit of the doubt kind of guy, even when I shouldn't be, because sometimes that gets me in trouble. But it's it's huge to look at things with a positive mindset because it starts with the mind, and then you get that going, and from there you can do anything because physical disabilities can only stop you so much, but if you put in the work you can get past most of those. It's all in the brain. And in fact, the main thing I struggle with is going to be discipline. I don't struggle with my mindset too much. I do have ebbs and flows. I get sad sometimes like everyone else, but I'm not depressed like I used to be. And we can kind of apply that to this situation too. If I was sad or depressed all the time like I used to be, maybe I don't know, 2 years ago, probably recent, 2 or 3 years ago, I had to fight to get out of that sad, depressed routine, even if there is a disadvantage, because I know there's science and chemicals in your brain might give you a disadvantage. But if you fight, you can rewire your brain to look at things in a positive outlook and and get over that hump. But it just depends on what you expose yourself to and how hard you're willing to work for it. So,
I think this was around the time when I put you through the boxing workouts, but around that time I had taken a break from my MMA stuff for a couple months just because like I wasn't where I needed to be at mentally nor physically in life. So I texted my coaches saying, "Hey, I need to get some stuff figured out. I'll see you guys whenever I see you guys." But even throughout that, I made sure that I kept like mostly positive influences around me, like Jacob, who was still running through like workouts with me at the time. And also, you talk about the benefit of a doubt, but one thing that I always try to think of whenever I'm a little bit down and out or just life's not going the way I need it to be is there's always that light at the end of the tunnel. There's always that light.
there is for sure.
Yeah.
And in today's world, it's a lot different. Most people blame social media. Some people blame this or that. There's a lot of different political debates out there right now, which I won't get into, but
All a
in
factor.
the yeah, all a factor for sure. I think the biggest thing is I'm pretty sure a lot of the things that we've seen nowadays has all been happening prior to social media. And nobody knew about it because it wasn't like it wasn't scalable. It wasn't super viral in a sense. Like you had to see it on TV. And there's a lot of hush hush, pay off people kind of people out there. So most of those stories wouldn't make social media because it didn't exist, but most of those stories back then wouldn't even make it to TV because a lot of those stories were handled by these big networks, and a lot of those people would pay off certain individuals to make sure that story never got leaked. Nowadays, it's just more like it's being exposed more because you get random people who are bystanders who are just videoing it because they have a smartphone in their hand now, and everybody sees the bad more often because it's displayed more through mass communication like social media. So, like you said, there always is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it is what you choose to uh, digest in terms of the content or the information that you are seeing on your phone or on the news or whatever. Because everything is the same at the end of the day. Or there was cell phones, there was a TV, and everybody got their news feed from the TV. And if you decide to watch that and consume all the bad information from it, then it's gonna directly affect your mind and the way you see things. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, man. And like on the social media end of things, like I'm a little bit like split on it because if all you're seeing is toxic like stuff on the internet or Facebook or whatever, then yeah, then your attitude toward a lot of things is probably going to be negative. But you can choose like who you follow on social media or what you even post on social media. I feel like social media, even though we got a lot of like negativity and toxicity out of it, there's also a lot of positive and also a lot of people that are able to spread like positive information and are able to help people on social media too. So it's kind of it's a split down the middle kind of deal. You got to take your bad with your good, yin and yang.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because not only that, but we're looking at that with everything. There's always good and bad with everything, even if something is supposed to be good. If something's created only for the sole purpose of being good, there's always bad that comes out of it. You think of like charities. There's a lot of charity scandals out there with people using money for not charity things. And charities are supposed to be a good thing for people who are in need. So there's always good with the bad and bad with the good, but like I said, just depends on what you choose to do. I think accountability is a big factor as well. Like you said, you can choose who you follow, you can choose the information you digest. You can also choose not to even open it at all. I know there's a lot of people out there that just don't even use it because they don't want that negativity or that pressure on their brain all the time, which is totally respectable. I think getting rid of the problem is a good start, but social media is not going anywhere. So finding a way to use it for the good is going to be better than not using it at all, especially since the reason we're doing this podcast right now is through social media. We're actually using Discord, and I message you through Facebook to set up the time and stuff. So it's there's always good with the bad, like you said, but um,
Yeah,
nowadays,
and
if
like
you
you
can figure out how to use
making
those things, then it'd be 100% beneficial to you because you're in control. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yep, you choose what you digest, like you said. You choose whatever you choose to look at, whatever you choose to follow. That's on you. If you choose to follow negativity and toxicity in this world, then that's kind of on you as far as however your life turns out or whatever your mood and attitude is.
Yeah. And I want to bring up something to segue off of that, but you had mentioned something about taking a break from fighting and MMA in general. And now that we're on this topic of kind of like mental battles and struggles and stuff, like explain to me a little bit how that was for you. And you said you weren't in the best physical shape either, but what was going through your mind when you were thinking about taking a break? Because like you said before, you're on the high of the win right now of your most recent fight. and I'm sure that can carry you for a while. But once you're going through the grind and the motivation of the win is not there anymore because the high of that wears off, like how do you battle through that? And just elaborate on that a little bit.
I forget who said, I forget the actual quote, but like somebody said, motivation is only temporary. You need to like have your routine set up. So whenever like I was at like my worst of worst as far as like mental and physical health goes, like I don't know, man. Like I wasn't able to make a routine out of MMA, but since then it's probably been about 4 or 5 years since like I was taking a break from it. I'm just like that I need that place now. I need my gym now in order for me to like feel like I'm on a good path throughout my day or week or month or year or whatever. If I don't go to the gym, whether it's breakthrough or club MMA for like I'll even say like outside of fight camp for a day or two, then something's off. So the fact that if you can make a routine out of something, then you, you're probably going to be better because of it,
Yeah, and
mentally and
yeah, that routine can carry you through too, especially if you're down about something. Because this podcast, there's been ebbs and flows with the podcast as well. I was talking to Jacob, but this is one of the only things that I've been able to stick with in terms of discipline and actually making it work. Of course, depending on what point of life I'm at, my wants may change and I may not want to do the podcast anymore, but it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while, especially since I've battled back through mental struggles in the past for myself personally. And I'm able to kind of share what I've learned and just spread the positivity, like what we were just talking about. And now that we're on episode 19, which is a little more than 3 months, almost 4 months now, it's just nice to see because I'm going to be able to take that experience and that information and apply it to other things where most of my struggles would be right now is like physical activity. So hopefully I can mimic that and show myself that I can do it not only with the podcast but with other things too. So yeah, mental struggles. It is
off of
kind
it.
of like what's that?
Keep building off of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because I preach experience too, and experience is only going to happen if you just do go through the motions and just do it. It's tough to know exactly how everything's going to work unless you're in the trenches actually doing it. Because you can research online, you can do all that stuff, but eventually there comes a point where you have to execute, and you can't make any more excuses when it comes to actually doing the work. So at some point that trench has to end and you have to uh, be able to climb out of that and actually go through the motions instead of just going through the information trenches. You have to actually execute.
Execution was a big one for me because so I've been training in MMA for about 10 years now, but I didn't have my first MMA fight until 2020. And a big part of that was just like I was trying to find like the perfect moment to do my MMA fight, the right time, you know. But eventually I just kind of figured out there is never going to be no perfect time or no perfect moment to do that. You just got to kind of take the leap. You just got to say yes if your coach comes at you with a fight.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself any excuses, folks.
Yeah, for real. Because some of it just depends, but there are definitely some things that I struggle with in terms of excuses, and that is something I don't struggle with in terms of the podcast, but I do struggle with in other categories like I just talked about. So yeah, for sure. Sometimes you just got to do it and just go for it. Um, but yeah, that's a good point for sure. I think about that a lot when it comes to just executing in general. Just don't make excuses. You literally have a phone. If you're watching this or listening to this, you can research anything you need to know to get started and go from there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pretty well said, I'd say. Yeah, don't give yourself any excuses and don't look for a way out. Look
That's
for a
super
way in.
important
Look
too.
for a
Look
way in. Don't
look
look
for
for a
a
way
way
out.
in. That's a good point. In
Yeah.
terms of your MMA path, I'll say your daily routine. I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about that because some people they say they don't have the time. They say they don't have the motivation because they got other stuff going on. They're so busy, they make the excuse of not having time for it. But obviously at some point you have to make time and you have to be able to take the leap of faith to get something started, whether it's a business, being healthier mentally or physically, anything like that to better yourself. So run me through that real quick. Like when you were first starting, how did you transition? And then now what do you do to stay on top of it to go through your daily routine? What does that look like?
Well, now that I'm fine, there's different like time periods, you know. So like right now, I'm not getting ready for a fight, so it's kind of more lax. I'm not training twice a day, you know. I'm kind of just getting in there for fun right now, and then also to help teach the kids, obviously. But let's say I'm getting ready for a fight, we get an 8 week training camp to go on that. You literally got to cut out all the bullshit. You got to cut out all the bullshit. You got to tell friends, like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm getting ready for this big event here in 8 weeks. So I'm not going to be able to come out to eat because I'm on a diet or come out to the bar and have a couple drinks because, once again, I'm on a diet. You just got to cut out all the bullshit and you got to kind of be singular focused, tunnel vision on what you got ahead of you, which is the fight.
That's a great point, dude. Like I was
Yeah.
just thinking about what you just said, processing it. Like, and in terms of what you mean by that, if I'm understanding it correctly, like at some point you just got to cut out the people who are not benefiting you, which in your case would be, unless it's your trainer or somebody else who's trying to give you some tips on how to be better or who's actually benefiting you in terms of getting ready for your fight, you got to cut it out for those 8 weeks.
Like, it's not really it's neither. It's just like, okay, I gotta cut these people out, or I'm not going to make it to these training sessions, and I'm gonna get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. Is like, if you don't make it to training sessions, you're upping your risk of ending up unconscious on the floor in this sport. So you got to take that seriously, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I said, I'm not in camp right now, so I'm willing to kind of chill out, relax, go out with friends on a night out or something like that. But as soon as fight camp starts for me and I got my 8 weeks ahead of me before I make it to the event, I got to cut out all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because physically too, like
Discipline.
you have
There's
to
the
eat.
discipline right there.
Yeah, discipline for sure. That's actually something I was gonna segue into, but you were talking about cut out all the bullshit. You're probably talking about the diet as well, not just people or time.
Yeah, yeah. And like when I say bullshit, I don't really mean bullshit because like these are my friends and stuff that I'm talking about, you know, having to cut off for 8 weeks or something just because I don't got time to hang out as much as I usually would. So not exactly bullshit, but that's just how I word it. Just gotta cut out the bullshit for 8 weeks pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. And you're eating like, are you on a specific diet? I assume you cut out a lot of the super unhealthy stuff, but I assume it's super strict, right?
Yeah, yeah. During that 8 weeks, yeah. Like right now, especially since I'm coming off a win, I've been enjoying myself a little bit as far as
Yeah,
food and
of
sports. And
course.
even with the diabetes, like since I'm so active anyway, I can usually get away with eating whatever I want. But one of the biggest like parts of MMA, and I don't really know if you're educated on this, is weight cutting. So basically, like for me, for example, I fight at 170 pounds, so I got to weigh in at 170 pounds the day before the fight. I walk around at about 195, 200 pounds, so I got to lose 30 to 25 pounds, usually in an 8 week period, to get down to where I need to be to fight at.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
am a little educated on it. I do know there's a lot of people who can lose several pounds overnight just from water weight, and they'll take like salt baths or do low carb the day before a weigh in just to make sure they can hit the weight. But 8 weeks losing 30 pounds, I mean that's pretty insane right there.
Yeah, yeah, but if you see like the videos I post of me squaring off with my opponents on weigh-in day, you can definitely see there's a difference between my face, you know, right now, filled in, and then me sucked in, depleted of all calories and nutrition and whatnot, just waiting to get a drink.
Yeah, for sure. Dang, that's actually pretty incredible that you can do that and stick with it too, because you're losing 30 pounds, what, twice a year, three times a year to do these fights, maybe more.
Yeah,
There's a lot
three
of
times a
people
year.
like me who struggle losing weight in general. But like you said, it just takes a lot of discipline. So
Mhm.
in terms of discipline in general, motivation can only carry you so far, like you said earlier. But discipline, like, what do you do to not let yourself make those excuses? I know we touched on it a little bit before, but in terms of your fight camp, for example, say you're like what 3 or 4 weeks in, maybe or even like a normal person, like somebody who isn't fighting and cutting weight for 30 pounds, if they're starting out the new year, for example, wanting to diet, and then 4 weeks in they're like, I can't really do this anymore. What kind of advice do you have for them, like when you're in the midst of all of that?
Uh, if you're just trying to regularly lose weight as part of a lifestyle change, then I'd say saturation is key. Like, don't go cold turkey on anything. If you're 4 weeks in and you're feeling like, wow, I could really use a cheat meal right now, do the cheat meal, but don't have 3 or 4 cheat meals in a row, because then at that point you don't wasted the 4 weeks that you worked to cut off any weight that you was trying to lose. So saturation for me is key. Just if you're going to cheat, just do it a little bit. It doesn't got to be a big fucking like 2 day binge of eating junk food.
Fair enough, I got you. Is there any
Yeah,
point during the fight camp where you kind of lose motivation and you count on the discipline to carry you forward?
I wouldn't say motivation is a problem for me. It's just energy, because if I can't, like, all right, so how it usually is for me is Monday through Thursday, it's 2 workouts a day. Sometimes it's 2 MMA oriented workouts. Sometimes it's a workout with Jacob and then a workout or a session at my MMA gym. And then Friday and Saturday is just one session a day, usually the morning, and then Sunday's your off day. So it's usually just about like, I don't got the fucking energy right now, but I do got the motivation usually all the time, just because, like I said, if you don't get up and go, your chances of getting knocked out or choked out, they increase.
Survival instincts.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
energy, I kind of relate to the energy thing as well, because I don't do caffeine. I talked about this on my last episode, and a lot of people who know me know that I don't do caffeine anymore. So getting pumped up for
Can't get
anything
rid
is
of
tough.
it.
Yeah, I know, because some people are like, "Yo, you got rid of caffeine." I'm like, "Yeah, I got rid of caffeine." It's just for
Actually
me,
impressive.
it was more of an anxiety kind of thing. I felt like it wasn't contributing to my overall energy. It was just making me have like mental breakdowns, basically, of anxiety. So I was like, I'm just gonna cut it out. And that I did quit cold turkey because I had a super, I guess, big scare in terms of anxiety. So I was like, nah, no way, I'm not doing this anymore. Now I just rely on my natural highs of life to carry me forward, which there are some days when I'm just super tired, I want to sleep in and not do anything, but I think when it comes to discipline, at least for me, I can stick to something for sure if I have like a schedule, basically. If I'm going through day over day and it's like, okay, 9 a.m. breakfast, 10 a.m. workout, 11 a.m., whatever it is, like, especially if it's an off day, I can stick with it more. So, is that kind of how you do yours as well? Do you have like a schedule? You said you're doing 2 workouts a day during fight camp, and I assume you have to make money in between. So, like, how do you balance all that?
Yeah, so like usually I usually get 2 workouts in Monday through Thursday, usually one in the morning and then the other one late at night, usually around 7:30 to 9:30 at my MMA gym. And then yeah, that's hard to keep like the energy levels going, but unlike you right now, we'll try to keep the caffeine in a little bit during fight camp. And then as far as like making money on the side, door dashing wasn't a bad option, but these fucking gas prices right now, that stuff.
Oh my god, yeah. Crazy.
And what was the other part of the question? Did I miss anything, or did I answer that fine?
No, pretty much. I was mainly just asking about the routine. I think I was anyway. I got lost into what you were saying, just taking all that in. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was asking. Like, just for me, the energy and the discipline, just to be able to go through the day to day and like balancing all of that. Because you got, um, in terms of what you do, 2 workouts a day during fight camp, and then you got stuff on the side. How many hours do you work a day, either on yourself or for money? Like, would you say?
Um, during fight camp, not really too much like is happening during the day. Usually, I'll wait for the weekend to like try to get some money going, just because I'm only doing one workout a day, Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday's completely free for me. So if I was to do anything like we were just talking about, DoorDash, even though that's not really an option for me right now, I would do that whenever I have more free hours in the day and I could still make a decent buck off of it. But that Monday through Thursday stretch where I'm getting 2 workouts a day, it's really just rest and workout.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you still work on it though, right? Because you're just like, even without money, you still got workouts. Are they like hour, 2 hour workouts? How does that work?
Well, now that I'm helping assist coach right now, that's another way for money to come in too.
That's good to hear.
So, so like literally, I'll assist coaching kids, and then I'll go right into a workout where I'm at already. That's how that works.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty cool for sure. Especially you're doing what you love and you're about to make money at it. Like that is the ultimate goal. And you're literally the poster child that I can think of for chasing your dreams. Like I said, I respect it a lot. So
there's other examples out there, but I definitely appreciate that. Though I'm glad I can. I don't know how big of an inspiration or influence I am right now, but I'm glad if there's anybody out there that takes any inspiration from what I do or what I say, I'm glad that I can be a part of that, you know?
yeah. Well, especially with because I don't see diabetes holding you back at all. And honestly, when I'm looking at your fight wins or your fights in general, your workouts, I don't get a whiff of that at all. And I know some people in my family and some people personally that have that. And most of those people, in my experience, are the ones who make as little excuses as possible and they just go out there and get it, which it's weird. So I guess from your perspective, how would you so is there a connection between having diabetes and your fuel to chase your dreams, or is it completely unrelated and it doesn't stop you at all?
Actually, no, like diabetes hasn't really physically hindered me as far as being able to chase my dream. It's more of the anxiety I get mentally from like will diabetes eventually hold me back physically. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so like right now I'm cool. Physically, I'm cool. Nothing stopping me right now. If I get like a low blood sugar during a session, that's fine. I take my time, get my blood sugars back up. I'm good. But it's mostly just anxiety on my end that I'm just like, oh my God, what if I get to a point where my diabetes is just completely taking over my life and I won't be able to do anything that I love, you know?
Yeah. So you would say probably that's like feeling you a little bit more because you want to go after it while you can, basically.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah. And also just here's a funny one. So in February, I had another fight down in Bowling Green, and it was a last minute fight against this guy named George Nichols. The funny story about George, he's hit me up on Facebook before, and I've talked to me at past fights. He's another type 1 diabetic. So
Wow.
it was really two type 1 diabetics fighting each other on short notice when we were both supposed to have other opponents. So how that worked out was we did our thing. I got the dub, but that didn't even matter to me. What mattered to me was we're both type 1 diabetics out there doing our thing, and we were both able to go out there and show out. And we even got messages from other fighters saying, wow, we think you guys put on the best fight of that night, probably. And that's a pretty big deal for me like that because that's your peers that are as tough as you saying good show out there. And then me and George are obviously taking in all the motivation from that. I'm in line for a title shot next, and he goes out there and wins his next fight too. So yeah, I feel like I almost got a responsibility, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. It's almost like you have, like, you just want to prove to everybody that that isn't something that's going to hold you back, and it's going to be actually the opposite. Like, you're not even going to worry about it. You're just going to go after whatever you want to go after, regardless.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't really feel the need to prove to everybody else. It's more of myself than anything.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I'm the same way for sure. Um, yeah, and that's kind of what I meant by that. Like, obviously, you want to show everybody what you're made of, but for yourself too. Yeah, because I mean, you're with yourself 24/7. You're not with everybody else 24/7. So fuck what they have to say, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I was going to say too, like, it's okay if you're looking for outside gratification. That's fine. We all look for like a pat on the back, a clapping, an applause from the crowd. But at the end of the day, it's you. It's you, and you got to be able to get yourself out of bed to do what you got to do because there's nobody clapping for you to get out of bed and go work your 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing in life. It's got to be on you.
Yeah.
That the outside gratification, it's only going to be there for one click or whatever it is on social media. You got to get up and do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and it's temporary too because if you put in the work, people are gonna be like, "Oh, wow, that's so cool," and they're gonna, if you, especially if you post it, there's gonna be some people that will
Mhm.
applaud for you in that moment, but as soon as
Yeah,
that
because
post
like
is no longer in their feed, they just stop, because
yeah,
and for one, it's like praise should come as a rarity for sure, and it should only come when it's necessary. I know there's a lot of issues right now that I've seen, just like super impractical positivity. Like, I like practical positivity. I don't like, oh, it's okay. Like, you, and it's hard to explain because I don't want to hate on anybody, but I'm just saying, like, if you have somebody that sucks at something, you don't want to give them false hope or false positivity. If they need that tough love or whatever, that's what you got to give them to build them up. And even if it's yourself, if you're sucking at something, then you need to be able to take that outside feedback and work on that too. Not this fake participation trophy type positivity.
yeah, yeah. I feel like people, especially athletes or anybody in like any kind of athletics, they should there's got to be a winner and there's got to be a loser. If you're the loser on that night or that day or whatever you're doing, take it and learn from it. Don't be looking for some. Hey, you did good out there. You get them next time. Which that's fine if you do get a little bit of that, but you should be looking at your losses and being like, wow, I lost. What can I do to get better from that instead of looking for that participation, looking for that second place trophy.
Yeah.
I hate the idea. If you're not first,
Yeah.
if you're not first, you're last.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great reference. A
Bye.
great movie too. No, I agree. I think it depends on the sport, but if you're talking MMA, it's first or last. If you're talking NASCAR, it's first or last. If you're
Ah,
talking
hell,
like
Rick.
Olympics, you got gold, silver, bronze, but still you can't be gold. Like, there's only one person that can be gold, right? Not everybody can be gold. Even if you got second or third, you still got a medal. That's fine. You still technically won. You're still on the podium, but there can only be one
You know
gold.
with how competitive those Olympic athletes are, even if they did get silver or third podium, they're looking at it as a loss and being like, okay, what the hell can I do next year to get that gold? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, and from what I know about a lot of those people from just watching stuff is they're not going to stop at that one gold medal. They're just going to keep working at it to see how
You
many
want to
more
get
they can get, and they're going to keep chasing that. Which it's tough for me because if I find myself at the top of something for that moment, then I kind of lose my motivation to keep going and to stay on top or to stay disciplined to keep moving forward. And you see these guys like LeBron James, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, like all the greats of
You know,
last generation and this
they
generation,
make it last.
and
They
they
make
didn't
it last.
stop after one championship. They didn't stop after one MVP. They're still going, and a lot of those athletes have multiple rings, and Tom Brady, I consider him the goat. He's got seven. So the fact that he can do it once and stay on top to be able to do it six more times after that is pretty cool.
Yeah, Tom. It takes a special kind of athlete to be able to get to the top and be able to have the motivation to continuously do it over and over again. Because in my sport, Matt, do you know who Matt Hughes is by chance?
I do not.
Matt Hughes was like one of the longest reigning early champs in the UFC, and his quote was like it's hard to become champ, but it's even harder staying on top. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually heard a similar quote before, but yeah,
And you know that like as soon as you win the belt, you're on cloud nine. You know nobody can stop you, but all of a sudden you think nobody can stop you, and you're not working as hard.
yeah, it definitely
that
plays a factor.
that's that's a slippery slope a lot of like athletes toe. So it takes a special kind of freak like a LeBron James or a Tom Brady to be able to be like, oh, I got on top. Well, fuck it, I'm about to do the same shit next year,
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
And I guess for them it's mentally humbling where it's like, okay, I won, but the next day they're like, let's get back to work and do it again, because and in their brain it's probably um they're just not even worried about it. Like they'll celebrate, but that season's over. All right, I already got that
Yeah,
ring, so now we're starting a new season. The record's 0-0. We need to show out again to be able to get the next one. So yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure there's some sort of like routine they go through in terms of celebrating and then right back to work.
In sports, I've learned that it's best to have a short memory when it comes to that shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
For
because
sure.
if you go into like your next match or competition with the last victory or whatever in mind, then that's just not it, Chief.
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
it's
and
a
it does make you
whole new
lax for
game,
sure.
whole new game. It's a
Yeah.
whole new game.
Whole new opponent, whole different style. Like you have to be able to, you can't just do what you did last time to get the same results with different people. It doesn't work like that.
Damn straight.
For sure. Um, in terms of the episode, I generally do a question at the end. First of all, is there anything else that you have to add to the rest of this episode? Because I've pretty much asked the questions I want. I said what I wanted to say. But is there anything else you got for me?
Can I just plug my social media real quick, or
Oh
do I
yeah,
say
dude,
that?
go for it for sure. Yeah, I'll post the links, but yeah, go ahead and plug it.
All right, so make sure you follow me on Instagram at EJ Riley 810, and then on Twitter. I'm not too active on Twitter, but I will retweet some stuff at Ethan J Riley. The EJR is capitalized.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll post it in the description for you, at least in the YouTube version. I'll put it out there for you. So, sure. But I do have a question at the end, like I said, and I actually kind of want a little bit more information about what we just talked about. So, in your routine, when it comes to getting those small wins, like obviously you can ride the high of those small wins in terms of your daily routine and being able to stick with that. But once you do get what you were looking for, which is what we just talked about, like the high of winning and stuff like that, once you do get that, what's your routine like, and how do you kind of reset? Because we talked about, yeah, you just need to reset, have short-term memory, but how, like, elaborate that on a little bit. How do you reset and just get right back to work and be able to work just as hard as you did before to get the last win?
Well, with short wins in training camp, you just gotta keep grinding. You know, like you do good that day, and then you can easily do shitty the next day. So you just got to keep pushing through to the next day, pretty much during training camp, as far as little wins and little losses go, because you're going to have little losses too, where you have a day and you get out grappled or outstruck or just beaten up by one of your training partners. You're like, wow, if I'm training like this and going into a fight, then how the hell am I going to win a fight?
Right.
But then, as far as just wins and losses in the fight goes, like take your time to celebrate. Like I said, I usually take like a week and a half to get a little bit of pigging out going on. But then once that's over, I'm just like, all right, back on the horse because the job's not done yet.
Got you. So you kind of think of it in terms of the job's not done yet. Basically, what we just talked about with like Tom Brady and stuff. They're probably thinking the same thing, where it's like the job's not done. So that's what you use as like motivation or discipline in your mindset when you're getting ready for the next fight. You have your little celebration, and then from there, it's like something just clicks, where it's just like, okay, job's not done yet. You just gotta keep going.
Job's not done yet, and you got to get back in the gym.
For sure. Yeah, I respect that, and I really appreciate
Yeah,
you getting on this episode and telling your story. Basically, I know there's a lot of people out there that would need to hear this at any given point to be able to start what they're going to start or even finish it. Some people get halfway through, three quarters of the way through of what they're doing, and they lose motivation or discipline. And I think your story and what we just talked about today kind of goes over that, and hopefully it helps somebody. So
yep, definitely. Like I said, if there's anybody out there that takes influence or inspiration off of anything that was talked about, then I'd say this is a pretty darn productive podcast.
yeah,
I'd say,
I think the
even
same
if it's
thing. And for me, that's what my motivation is when it comes to the podcast. If I just do one more, then maybe I say something in a certain way that will spark somebody's brain somehow, and then it gets them like it changes their life. That's how it was for me. At one point, you do the same motions over and over when it comes to training your. In this case, it was training my brain to look at things more positive instead of negative. But eventually, you get to a point where you train your brain so much to where it clicks, and Gary Vee said it best. I watch a lot of him, but he was like, I say a lot of the same shit. Like my podcast is a lot of the same shit. I get different guests. We talk about different things. The themes are basically the same because you never know when your moment is, especially when somebody's listening. You never know when that moment is. So, but yeah, I appreciate your time for this episode, and definitely get you on next when I upgrade the podcast and get the in person set up.
yeah, yeah, man. Whenever you get an in-person studio going, I'd like to be a guest, just sitting next to a buddy and chit chatting and shit. Oh yeah,
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot better than the video, but the video is what I got for now, so we're gonna roll with it until
yeah, this is
I do some
fine.
upgrades.
This was different, but this was fine.
Yeah, it is different for sure. There's a different connection when it comes to digital, but I'm gonna work on getting that in person setup so I can have basically go through my whole list of guests and be like, hey, let's do another episode. I got an in person setup this time, so that'll be dope. Can't wait for that. So. But that is the end of this episode for episode 19. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't already, definitely listen to the last episode. I already mentioned it. And definitely stay tuned for episode 20, which is going to be dope. I can't wait to keep it going. Peace out, guys.